At 2:17 on a freezing winter morning, Daniel Reed saw a woman lying beneath a broken street lamp, wrapped in a torn blanket and trembling so badly that he thought she was already dead. He had every reason to keep driving. He was a struggling single father, his bank account was nearly empty, and his 8-year-old daughter was waiting for him at home. Yet something inside him made him stop. Daniel stepped out of his old car and approached the woman carefully. Her clothes were dirty, her shoes were falling apart, and her face looked exhausted beyond words. When she opened her eyes, she didn't ask for money. She only whispered that she was cold. Daniel looked toward the empty road, then toward his small apartment, knowing he could barely afford another mouth to feed. But he also knew what it felt like to be abandoned. 3 years earlier, his wife had died suddenly, leaving him alone to raise their daughter, Lily. Since then, Daniel had learned that sometimes kindness was the only thing a person could give when they had nothing else. If stories about second chances and unexpected kindness touch your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to Ripple of Kindness. You never know whose life might change because someone chose to care. Daniel offered the woman his hand. She hesitated for several seconds before taking it. He helped her into his car, turned the heater to its highest setting, and drove home. When Lily opened the apartment door and saw her father standing beside a homeless stranger, she looked confused but didn't complain. Daniel explained that the woman had nowhere safe to sleep, and Lily immediately brought out her warmest blanket. The woman stared at the little girl with tears filling her eyes. She hadn't expected kindness from anyone, especially not from a child. Daniel made a simple meal of soup and bread. The woman ate slowly, almost as if she were afraid someone might take the plate away. She introduced herself as Elena, though she gave no last name. She said she had lost everything and needed only one night somewhere warm. Daniel told her she could sleep on the couch. It wasn't much, but it was safe. That night, after Lily went to bed, Daniel noticed something strange. Elena was sitting awake, staring at the old family photograph on the shelf. It showed Daniel, Lily, and his late wife smiling together. Elena quietly asked how his wife had died. Daniel answered honestly, explaining that his wife had become sick very quickly and that the medical bills had destroyed nearly everything they owned. Elena lowered her eyes and apologized. Then she said something Daniel didn't understand. She told him that sometimes people discover the true value of life only after losing everything they thought mattered. Daniel assumed she was speaking from personal experience. Before going to bed, Daniel placed a glass of water beside her and told her she was welcome to stay as long as she needed to get back on her feet. Elena looked at him for a long moment and thanked him. There was something unusual in her expression, something Daniel couldn't explain. It was not the look of a helpless stranger. It was the look of someone carrying an enormous secret. The next morning, Daniel woke before sunrise. He prepared breakfast and packed Lily's lunch for school. When he walked into the living room, Elena was gone. At first, he thought she had simply left without saying goodbye. Then he noticed a folded piece of paper on the table. His hands trembled slightly as he opened it. The message was short: "You saved my life last night. Today, I will change yours." Daniel barely had time to process the words before someone knocked loudly on the door. Standing outside were 2 sharply dressed lawyers, a security officer, and a woman holding a tablet. Daniel immediately became nervous. He wondered whether Elena had stolen something or whether he had unknowingly brought danger into his home. The woman introduced herself as the chief legal advisor of a global investment company. Then she said Elena's full name. Daniel froze. Elena wasn't a homeless woman. She was Elena Volkov, the founder and majority owner of one of the world's largest private investment empires. Her fortune was estimated at more than $30 billion. Daniel stared at them in disbelief. The woman explained that Elena had deliberately disappeared from public life after discovering that several people close to her were trying to manipulate her company and gain control of her fortune. She had wanted to know whether anyone would help her without knowing who she was. For weeks, she had traveled anonymously, sleeping wherever she could and observing how strangers treated her. But the previous night had been different. Daniel had not simply given her food. He had given her his home when he could barely afford his own life. He had asked for nothing. Elena entered the apartment moments later, dressed in an elegant black coat, looking completely different from the exhausted woman Daniel had carried inside. Yet her eyes were the same. She explained that she had watched Daniel struggle from the moment he stopped his car. She knew he was poor. She knew he was tired. She knew helping her could create problems. Still, he had opened his door. Daniel told her he didn't do it for money. Elena smiled sadly and said that was precisely why she had chosen him. But Daniel refused her first offer of money. He told her that if she wanted to help, she should help Lily receive a good education and perhaps help him clear the medical debt left by his wife's illness. He wouldn't accept millions simply because he had done what he believed any decent person should do. Elena was deeply moved. Instead of giving him cash, she offered him something more meaningful. She paid off every medical debt attached to Daniel's family, established a trust for Lily's education, and offered Daniel a position managing a charitable foundation she had secretly created years earlier. Daniel accepted the job, not because it made him rich, but because it gave him the chance to help people who were standing where Elena had once stood. Months passed, and Daniel's life transformed. He moved with Lily into a comfortable home, but he never forgot the small apartment where everything had begun. Every week, he and Lily visited shelters and delivered food, blankets, coats, and school supplies. Elena eventually became like family to them. She often visited on Sundays, and Lily called her Aunt Elena. One evening, as they sat together eating dinner, Lily asked Elena why she had chosen her father. Elena looked across the table at Daniel and smiled. She said that wealth could buy almost anything except the one thing she had desperately needed that night, someone who would see her as a human being instead of a fortune. Daniel looked at his daughter and realized that the greatest gift he had received wasn't money, success, or security. It was the reminder that kindness has value even when nobody is watching. Years later, Elena told the story publicly for the first time. She said that the night she was treated like a beggar was the night she discovered what true wealth looked like. And Daniel always remembered one simple truth: sometimes the person you think you're rescuing is actually the person who will help rescue you. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who believes in kindness, and subscribe to Ripple of Kindness. Your support helps these stories reach more people who need a little hope. Before you go, comment, "Kindness is the greatest wealth," if you believe that helping someone should never depend on how much they can give back. Because Daniel opened his door to a stranger when he had almost nothing. And the next morning, he discovered that the woman he had rescued was one of the richest people in the world, but more importantly, she had discovered that the richest man in that room was the one who gave without expecting anything in return.